turn on the audio, which looks like it's working. So if you would like to formally open the meeting, that would be great.
Welcome everybody. It is Sunday, January 11th at 1:13 p.m. This is the Cultural Arts Commission retreat, and I will kick it off with a roll call, starting with Marlo, who says that she might be late. And Tim.
Present.
And Alicia, who's
Present.
just reading that game.
No.
And then Monique.
I'm here.
And then Kelly said that she wouldn't be able to be here, and Matthew.
Present. And
I'm also present. We have a forum. We won't, which is, it's different. It's the retreat, but we did it. So we can kick things off we've got a few different agenda items. We're gonna talk now. So the agenda items are very conveniently all of the things we do. The first of which is Phoenix Awards. I don't know if you have like a whole big like presentation component you want with each of these, or whether we just kind of jump in and kind of talk through.
I don't have anything. I can hop to the web pages easily. Oh, sure. Here, take this one. So if you want background or anything, I gave you some background, knowing you might have questions and stuff about where we are.
I think essentially, this version of this body has done one Phoenix Awards. Prior to that, obviously, it had happened for a while. Biannually, we switched it up this year, doing it nestled within the inclusive art market. So I feel like doing like a post-mortem, like how did it go? We already kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think trying to get a little bit more into it and see if maybe we've heard any feedback from people in the community about the new venue or any of the other things about it. So
I'll start. I had quite a few artists step away from their tables to pop their heads in. They thought it was really cool. Didn't even know it was a thing. Planted a lot of seeds of aspiration, which that gets me really excited, because now when I'm like, hey, they'll know what I'm talking about. They'll have seen, what could be, and it kind of pushes them more to grow as artists and, get in their uncomfortable zones. So I think that was my favorite part.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, getting more artists in on what it was.
And they're the folks, like, as far as raising awareness of the Phoenix Awards, they're having those folks be aware of it is huge.
Yeah, I got good feedback about the location, and personally, I think it's good. I think it just works really well. So there's a lot of activity there that weekend. It kind of builds some synergy, some momentum towards it.
It feels like a value add on both ends, and it feels like it is a good example of us being, we have a budget unlike most advisory boards, and some of that budget goes towards the Phoenix Awards. And by having the award ceremony in the inclusive art market, we're saving money on a handful of things, and also saving capacity, like staff capacity, on trying to schedule. And I feel like from like a fiscal responsibility standpoint, like we're doing a good job of spending less money and having better outputs, which means that we can direct that money to actually paying artists for sculptures and things like that.
Yeah, I thought it was really positive linked with an art event like inclusive art market, just having that same kind of people being around, interested artists that maybe didn't know what the Phoenix Awards were. Definitely, I've been to the Phoenix Awards at the Theater Lawrence, which was great, and at the Art Center back in the day when I talked, and I really liked it tied to an event. I thought there was something really nice about that. It kept different things going. I also wondered, while we're talking about it, for like event costs for like the food, was that even needed in this?
Yeah, great question. So historically, we didn't do much with the art center.
Yeah.
But then Mary Dutton really took it to another level with the with Theater Lawrence, because in part that was her agency, and they had the facilities to do that. So we haven't really been using that money for,
I thought, it was nice tied with an event, because then instead of that, you could go spend money and support that artist. And I just wondered with that, it's good to save that it could go somewhere else, but I like that there was still food and drink that you could get, and you could be supporting someone. And so I thought that There wasn't.
presentation of options at the stock market is way above and beyond what could have previously done with this. So yeah, it was better while also being more cost effective.
Yeah.
But so you're wondering,
I was just wondering on that, because I see it in there and I was like, wait, this year there wasn't really, like, I just had a question on it, like.
yeah, are we gonna have three grand left in the coffers at the end of the, is that what you're kind of wondering? Like,
Yeah, or just does it,
Was $6,000 set aside total?
$6,000 was set aside.
Okay, so
Um,
5 was used for inclusive, 500.
$500.
Yes. It would be cool if we could put 1,000 towards it, because it is the most expensive event of the year, and I don't have a lot of sponsors for that.
Sure.
I hope to grow those sponsors. That's a big push this year now that I have a little bit more of a solid foundation under me in the programs that we're kicking off this year, but that would be phenomenal. Just for the extension of
This
this.
past year
big
having the
that.
Phoenix Awards, and maybe, obviously I would have seen these things at the time, but is like City of Lawrence listed as a sponsor then?
Yeah, it is. They were, yeah, I put them on the flyer and on our pages and stuff like that.
1,000 seems totally reasonable. It seems, yeah, it's notably low considering how much we're getting out of it.
because in the past, like venue costs and stuff, is that usually considered, or is it usually like just a like a?
With Mary, it was expensive, to be very honest with you.
Oh, okay.
And there was also, because they were serving alcohol,
Yeah.
they
Donated.
had it catered.
Wondered if it was.
You guys got some wine donated, but
Yeah,
it
we
was,
got wine donated, but there was food and there was other beverages,
Yeah.
things. So yeah, all of that. I mean, just throwing a party just costs you.
but I will also say we didn't have $6,000 when Mary was doing it,
Yeah,
we had
totally.
$3,000.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, so, ignore this budget. This needs to be updated. And so this is good. I'm going to put down. So we need to, I don't know if we need to vote per se, not today, obviously, but we probably need to talk to the art commission. If we revise the budget to some degree, we need to bring it back to the art commission, just get clarity
But
on.
we do
The
know,
plan is to do the inclusive art market again next year and to do a $1,000 donation, which is great.
and then the awards, what's the per diem or?
Oh, if we do it next year, that's the other thing.
Yeah. What was, how much
We
did?
gave Brian $6,000. The artist got the entire amount, which it's easy to forget, but that raised the bar.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Those
Those pictures do not do them
No.
justice at all. Those are
Isn't
great
it wild?
pictures.
It drove me crazy.
Great pictures, and I'm like, yeah, those are pretty, but I was speechless in person.
Just the,
Well-
like the luster.
Did you get to see the inside of them?
Yes. It's everything about
Have to
it.
make an extra, did he? Because back in the
They
day.
did make an
Did
extra.
he back in the
They
day?
opted to give it to an artist instead of putting it in.
Okay.
Which I think was a smart move, and I
Yeah.
can put a photo in there and explain that that's what happened.
No, I think that's smart. And I
But yeah, my sense is that, we've had trouble getting people to nominate. This year, several of us worked hard to beat the proverbial bushes to get people to nominate. And it's really just reminding them. And it does take a little time and effort to do it, but
I think too, if we revised how much we submit, that would stop people from dragging their feet or finding reasons to not. Because for me, like, I don't know, Rachel was there was so much going on, and there's no way of me to ask her, like, well, what is your academic history, or what is your, how do I find that out about somebody?
Yeah.
Like, that's a
a
little.
lot of people, if you do a little online sleuthing, it's kind of scary what you can find.
I guess I didn't even consider that.
And I put in there intentionally that if you can get somebody's, resume, great. If you can't, just a list of professional accomplishments.
I think, yeah, maybe professional or community or, whatever the goal is, but I definitely think that supportive letter is key.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely a great echo from.
I think, I do want to make sure we finish talking about like the
Yeah, we're jumping
budgetary
in.
stuff, but do we want, I think 1,000 for the event and then the rest of it go into the artist, does that make sense? And that's the breakdown as opposed to.
Well, hang on. So one thing we need to talk about is, are we talking about doing the way we're doing it now? Artist event, or are we talking about doing 'cause I know it came up And with as many nominations as we had, it's like, wow, we could conceivably resurrect this. But I also know that it kind of makes it a little more exciting when it's not every year.
But does it keep momentum?
Yeah.
And also be keeping up with our artists, frankly, because, not everybody lives forever.
Because if it was every year, then that would cut it in half. Artists would then get 3,000 and then half of it would go. Is that right?
Well,
Would that be
we
kind
have to
of-
figure out how to do it, yes.
It wouldn't be.
But if we think about the fact that on an annual basis, we have $6,000 allocated to the Phoenix Awards. So if we were to do it every year, then and we did $1,000 to the inclusive art market, then we would have $5,000, which could go to the artist. Obviously, Seabright and Young got 6,000.
Mhm.
5,000 is still much more than.
But like
we used to.
marketing,
We-
would that come out of that too?
Oh,
Or is that just?
that used to be, we used to print postcards, we used to do a mailing list.
About
We don't do that.
No, the cool thing about being attached to the inclusive is that we pay for the email blasts to go out 2 times, and then we pay for to be ran out on that.
Like the round table or just?
What is that sign thing at like 15th in Iowa, the light
The-
summer thing?
Like the market. Yeah.
Pay to be on that twice, like I think
Okay.
maybe the beginning of the month and like the week of or something like that.
And then just any and all public discussion, buzz, hype.
Yeah.
Awareness of the inclusive art market.
Yeah.
Is in some way also drawing people. to
Very
it.
much so.
So yeah, I don't think the marketing thing. is-
Yeah, because like that email and I had them draft it so it would include
Yeah.
this event. So that email went out to like
So that takes.
tens of thousands of people.
No, that makes sense. I mean, that takes away that marketing printing.
Yeah, and you don't have to.
The videos we had done though, where does that fit into,
I'm glad you brought that
where
up.
does that money come out of or?
That came out of this, we paid, God, was Chris. We paid him, I think we paid him $700. And bless his heart, kudos to him.
Killed it.
Because and he hit the ground running.
He
He
did,
wrangled the artists, it was really fabulous, yeah.
he really did.
Yeah, he really nailed it. So it's not, I think $1,000 range for that level of work is not inconceivable.
Yeah,
Right, I'm just thinking, remember, we're figuring out numbers, we need to
good job.
not forget
Yeah.
that.
Because I think that's a really important, I like.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That was really cool.
That really like brought it all
That
together.
was really important.
It kind of kept things moving too,
Yeah.
because you're like, okay, well, here's all the talking that needs to happen, here's the award, move on to the next
Yeah,
person.
it was a nice flow.
You'd also feel even though it was the Unmistakable, the UPI public art exhibition, even though we do talk a lot about trying to expand that away from just traditional sculpture, I do think we don't have as many opportunities for videography
Mhm.
stuff, and I do think we have a pretty good scene for that. So having something we're doing that, although I do think if we wanted to just try and continue working with the same videographer year after year, I mean, he did such a good job that I feel like it would take a part of this whole Phoenix Award process and just like lock it in and have him be at least as long as he wants to do it. Or if we can get him, I think I'd be open to.
Yeah, I agree.
Again.
It's a good portfolio builder too.
Yeah.
Right, just.
And I feel like in the spirit of the Phoenix Award, it could make sense to be like, let's try and get a different videographer every year. But I think that the reality is if we stick with him.
Well, and if he gets tired of it, there can be an opening, like, who wants to apply to be this person, and get people excited into, of their work.
Couple years,
Right.
maybe they'll have.
Yeah.
Spotlights, and so just let the.
I like that idea a lot.
Let the rotation
Guarantee you
happen.
will grow to something very, I mean, he's already grown to something very big,
Mhm.
but like.
He
He
works
works,
somebody-
I met him through Hang 12, like
Oh,
5 years ago. They met him and they did a video with the high schoolers and I was like, who is this? He does everything. He used to do everything on VHS.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Good for him.
he like figured it all out and then he started
Wow.
working at the art center and I've just seen what he's done stuff in KC and it's just.
Well, truthfully, it was last minute, so I said, Marlo, help.
Yeah, and he did it very,
Hey,
I was like, he is.
got a guy.
He's really, I mean, I think he's a great person to have lock in, but I love the idea. I know it's a lot, I don't want it to be a lot more work, but the idea of other people available, but also sometimes it
It
can
sounds like we might
come.
outgrow this at some.
I don't know, I don't wanna speak for
I mean,
him, but
Just like,
he's got a lot
I
of.
think that can be a goal. I think a goal whenever you're working with an artist, whenever you're contracting someone, is that hopefully after a few years, they'll be so busy and big time that we'll have to. But also that if we want to do, you said 700 is what is paid, but I think 1,000 as like a ballpark. So that means 1,000 for includes fair market, 1,000 for video production, and then $4,000 for an artist. That is if we wanted to switch to like a yearly cycle. If not, obviously we could still do more. So it's tricky because the whole idea of the timeline of do we want to switch away from biannual to annual, and the budget are like reliant on each other. I do agree with you. Kind of indicated the idea that if we had it annually, people just come to expect it. I think that is a big benefit of having it annual. You know, it's routine. If it's every other year, you know, it becomes a little bit trickier. People are like, oh, is it this year or is it next year? I forgot.
Yeah. That
Or like
was,
the name, getting the name, knowing a little bit
Yeah.
more. I mean, people know it, but not everyone.
I think, you know, with the recent change of this board, now that we're back, you know, kind of back on track and know things, this is where the committee idea comes into. Could there be a committee that really, one, sort of keeps their eye and pulse on the community? Because that's something that some of us talk like, hey, what about this person? What about this person? Plus, I'll go back, obviously, if we do it annually, it makes it better because then anybody that wasn't selected this year, put them right back in the mix for next year. And I emailed all the nominators and after they're open to that, and everybody obviously said yes. So I think there's wisdom in doing it. It's just, yeah, adjusting the budget.
So that kind of would be our speculative budget that if we were to do annually, it'd be $1,000 for $1,000 for the video production, and then $4,000 would be the artist. Which to me, I mean, considering that a few years ago it was was it
Three?
was it
It was
$3,000?
3 when I did it.
Yeah, so it would be 4, which is
But you didn't get paid $3K.
I think I did. It was long, 2014 or something, so it was a while ago. I think it was like,
Paying artists like or closer to, I have to go back and look.
I mean,
2750 or something.
maybe it was something like that, but it definitely wasn't 6. And I'm like, well, that's,
Well, no, I know it wasn't 6, and I think it was less than 3.
Was
We had
it?
other costs and stuff.
yeah.
But
And it-
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, it was at that time,
But you
really
did it.
good. I did 7,
Yeah.
But you did it when? I mean, you did.
2014 or 13.
Yeah, you did it a while.
And so like, it was great money then, but now knowing all the effort and anything, and you can see the time spent, and with a little bit, I'm like, okay, I'm glad that it's gone up since
If
then.
it turns out, if it ends up that we only do 6,000 for 1 year's awards, like this is definitely the year to be paying out a premium because it's
Mhm.
just
yes, agreed.
really go overboard.
I mean, too, in this year, there was a lot of momentum. There was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of, you know, just like new eyes and ears on it. So I think it would be beneficial to bring it back annually.
Well, nobody seems against the idea of making it annual. If we did want to start doing it annually, would that mean, would we just be like, it's you know, January 2026, we'll just plan on doing it this year?
Yeah, I think what I would say is if everybody here is on the same page and we have consensus, I can put it on the February agenda and we can formally vote on it and say we're going to make this an annual event again, and then we can start building out from there as far as getting a timeline together and that kind of
I would
thing.
want to like put out I'll call for an artist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not giving it,
After that vote.
yeah, we're not
Yeah.
giving them too much time.
Yeah, before that month is over, we need to like
Make them all be.
Yeah.
contacting our people and getting them to submit.
Yeah.
What is it, a proposal of
RFQ.
application? Yeah,
Yeah.
application, okay.
Just building noise.
Sorry, noise. I did want to also, so as you've talking about the application is something that I feel like year after year, the nomination process is something that has gotten focused. And I feel we've shifted it here or there, but I definitely still, I mean, having just nominated someone this year, I like the fact that you stressed that the letter of endorsement is really that's the key part, and the other stuff is good, but not necessarily, you don't have to have like a full a full list of those things. I just feel like trying to stress that to people who might nominate is important idea that like your letter about why this individual should receive the award, that is like the heart of it, and everything else is seen as like supplemental supporting information. If you don't have someone's full CV, like that doesn't mean you can't submit. It's just something that helps.
Well, and yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe to include in the wording for that, the part for the resume, maybe have it include like news article links to things that they've done, or other websites, whatever they're into or have contributed to, because sometimes those speak just as loudly as something on somebody's resume.
Yeah.
Not everybody. I don't even know what my submission looked like. I don't have a resume, so whatever was put down for that was a lie.
I mean, when I nominated Deja, I wrote a letter justifying why I felt like Deja, I would absolutely make sense to someone to receive this award. I should have received it years ago. And the fact that, and then for the supplemental stuff, I mean, maybe more on this, but I had like a link to an article about Deja in Lawrence Magazine, some things like that. Instead of having like a full PDF resume of boom, 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 all these things, I really just had some stuff that was like making it obvious the impact and the connections this person has. But I would not say, if we were judging the nomination applications, I would not say mine got a 10 out of 10 as far as like the the process. Like a lot of my supporting stuff was like this is a list that from Deja's Facebook page about event, just copy
I
and
think
paste.
that count, like that's valid.
Yeah.
It's still important. Just because you don't go through certain challenge
But
channels doesn't negate the work that you're being
But
done.
I just been trying to emphasize that because here for year, I've heard some amount of people talk about the fact that the nomination process is a little bit arduous and can kind of scare people away.
It scared me away a few years ago. I was doing it last minute, and I didn't have time this year to do it. But looking at it, and obviously it's all talking, I'm like, okay, it was the CV thing. And I remember trying to get the persons and like trying to be secretive. It was very last minute, like 2 weeks before.
No, and I think what you're describing is probably a very common experience.
And I was like, oh, I don't think I have time next year.
But I can see how we could, like the support materials, we can ask for them, but we could take off, submit all three. And submit as many as many as possible, something to that effect.
It's really reassuring.
I also want to say having nominations from the board was really, I think that really showed a champion level, from this board, which I really appreciated. I thought that was great.
It makes sense because we meet up every month and we talk about stuff all the time that we're.
That's why I think activating a committee is probably really smart, to sit down just for an hour or something, or at least touch base and just say, hey, because Tim is tuned into the art world in a different way than Alicia. And as you just said, you didn't, sometimes an artist pops up like, I had no idea this person was even in town. So people, I think, assume, oh, well, everybody. It's like, maybe not.
I would say we all have very unique corners and people that we work with, and that's the most incredible thing about our group.
So you say committee, like a subcommittee, this group would.
Yeah, not just a work committee. Let's call it ad hoc, in the sense that it wouldn't be really conducting work per se. I mean, if we do a formal committee, we have to take it to the city commission, which you could do. We could do that too. But I think it's more of just, we need boots on the ground, so to speak, to say, hey, let's generate a list of people we want to reach out to and really, or at least make some, like, here's a great example. Tom Harper coincidentally wrote a really nice article about Walt. I read the article. I was reminded that Walt had done the Phoenix Award years ago. In many cases, the artist who has done the Phoenix Award has then been awarded later. So I was like, this would be a huge mistake if we didn't recognize Walt. So I reached directly out to Tom Harper and I just nudged and said, and I gave him everything I could as far as, here's all you need to do. I tried to make it as easy as possible. And not manipulatively, but Walt, I know, is really a big factor in this town. He's mentored so many other artists. He's just a really amazing human. So that's how that kind of came to be.
I like the idea of having an ad hoc committee. I think that one thing we can do to make it easier is that as a starting point, we can invite former Phoenix Award recipients to potentially contribute to that. I think, you won the award last year. Do you want to, meet up on this ad hoc committee and talk about,
Ooh, that's a great
it's just,
idea.
it's a nice
Something like that.
convenient list that we have of folks who are obviously tied to the arts community. They won the Phoenix Award, but are not going to be nominated themselves. So, yeah, I think.
Well, too, like for them to have just experienced it and get to share that with somebody, like that makes being involved way more exciting.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I do know, we briefly, you mentioned the fact that like this year was a year when there were quite a few nominations from this body, which I don't think had necessarily always been the case. Which obviously considering that, I nominated Deja, and when I found out that Deja got the award, I was excited because I had nothing to do with the selection, but I do think it is important to make sure that the percentages are right as far as, we're always trying to encourage people to nominate people, but just making sure that it's the nominations who are sitting on this board aren't 90% of. Like, I think it'd be nice to have more. So it seems like the people who are nominating, and then us who are sort of overseeing the award ceremony, making sure that there's like a healthy balance there. Just so it doesn't seem like we're
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
calling all the shots.
What he's talking about, it's kind of funny because in all the years I've been doing this, I have never, ever that I can recall received any feedback personally from somebody, but I received 3 separate communications from 3 different individuals about my nomination. I can't remember his name.
Mark Howard and
I received it was weird. It was like, they were not 100% sure. Take the personal stuff out, but almost every one of them said, I don't think he should have gotten it. But 2, what they were more concerned about was that I was the nominator,
Oh,
that I was on the board. And I'm saying this so that it's on the record
Yeah.
that I received, and I told them, all of them, and they didn't appear to be related. That's what was so weird about it. It's like, I've never been communicated with.
3 different communications.
3 different people basically kind of saying the same thing. And I explained to all of them. I was, listening to what they had to say. And I just said, look, we nominate because we don't get nominations. It isn't that we're trying to control this process, that it's not a popularity contest. It's that we very publicly post that we're accepting nominations and we don't get them. And so to keep this program moving forward, and I explained to each of them, I don't vote on my nominees.
Right.
It's not like I have any control, and nobody on this. I honestly don't even know how the hell they do get picked.
We did have a subcommittee who.
Okay, I couldn't remember, but I
committee reviewed and scored, and then
I'm trying to remember.
I wasn't on it.
I think it's,
I remember who else was.
and
I
Kelly.
think Kelly was.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just kind of funny. Anyway, and I'm not making light of it. It's just I never received communication, and then obviously I touched some level of a nerve, right? But regardless of it, I nominated him, and it is what it is. But they raised the point, well, should commissioners be nominating? And I pushed back on that, and I said I think commissioners should have. We are citizens of this community too.
They too
And-
need to understand that everybody that I'm looking at this table, I would say is in good standing in their communities, I feel like we are very trustworthy people, and people look
Yeah.
to us as mentors.
Agreed.
As leaders. So I don't think any of us would do anything unethical.
I don't
We
either.
want to encourage people to, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I mentioned it to Daniel Friday night because it was just it was very out of the blue,
Yeah.
and you know what? Very valid point. Should commissioners nominate? I come down on the side that commissioners should nominate.
Yeah.
Commissioners should not vote on their own
Yes.
nomination.
I think that's something I want to make sure people understand. In every situation,
We recuse
we've
ourselves.
always allowed,
I was gonna say, I'm gonna stop applying if it came to where I couldn't, I'm gonna be on the commission.
so, anybody that nominated did the work and gained nothing other than, oh, good, my person was, received the award. And that wasn't, so I'm afraid that it's a perception of bias,
Sure.
but,
But they're also welcome to apply to be on our board.
Well, and I think they all understood after I told
well,
them.
that's what I want to hear is because I don't think there's anything nefarious, but unfortunately in this town, people generate
Yeah, I mean,
ideas, and it's like, well, wait a minute, where are you going with this? And then my question is somebody that would challenge a nominee or a recipient would be, if you don't agree with this,
somebody else.
yeah, then you
know, I know, I tried to not be obnoxious about it, but
Yeah.
I think that we do go out of our ways to be very above boards here. I've always felt that. I've never ever once felt like anything was kind of untoward, right, out of our group. But it was just weird. It was unusual. It was unexpected. I mean, nobody seems to ever care about what we do.
We don't have that many public comments. Is what,
Yeah.
we don't-
Yeah, no, I think it's
It was a fair one, and I think, we should at least have some public discourse about it, and I think we're having that.
And I think that in the future, we should make it very clear. I mean, I've, stood on stage and talked about Phoenix words, during the actual presentation, and, we could very clearly articulate there, or we could articulate in other printed information that goes out, like once the awards are announced, all that stuff, that the fact that, while cultural arts commissioners are able to nominate people in the community, that they then are not able to, be involved in the selecting of or voting on the people they nominate.
Right.
So I really explain that to people because, I understand why people might.
And get a sense of, they get a perception and they act on it.
Yeah.
Right?
The other thing, just so you all know, is that I choose to do this because I'm with you 100%. The credibility of this board and what you all do is invaluable. And so I'm always very, very conscientious about any process. That's why I do not reveal the nominees that were not awarded.
Sure.
That's very conscious that it's like, I don't want to put that out there because they could be nominated the next year. It's an element of surprise. So if I hear somebody challenging, well, I don't think that person should have received the nomination. I'm like, well, who should have? And again, did you nominate that
Mhm.
person?
Yeah.
So I think we need to clarify this, and hopefully it would inspire people to make the effort. It's always interesting to me, being the person who goes through all this stuff. It's like so enlightening of like, wow, all of the Phoenix Award winners are just doing amazing things in this community. And I was aware of some of them, but to really see like,
Sure.
holy cow, this is really great stuff. It's kind of exciting. And I would imagine, you had to research Deja and stuff and learn more about,
Yeah.
so I think there's a benefit too.
Much more aware of Asia's impact on the community and
Yeah.
her notoriety than I was personally connected to, like, all the performances and different things she's done. But yeah, I think it'll be good to be really clear communicating with people going forward, just how that breakdown happens. And I will say that I feel like my knowledge of how so many different bodies function, not specifically here in Lawrence, but like in our country and in the world, I feel like we hold ourselves to a very high standard.
I think we do.
Every day I read about something where there's some sort of obvious conflict that's just brushed aside, and we really go out of our way to like be. We kick leave of the meeting when we're talking.
Which do I need to be kicked out? Because,
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with like making it, but you could be watching it.
And you can watch it later, right?
I could watch it later.
I think it's.
But I thought about this. I was like,
That's a good point.
every other artist could be zooming in and watching it, but I couldn't even hear it.
Well, you can pull your phone.
I guess I could. You see what I'm saying? Like you could be zooming in and watching that commission meeting happening when that conversation.
Live on YouTube,
Right.
yeah.
So why couldn't I have just like sat behind and, I'm glad, I'm totally for all fairness, I'm totally fine with it, but I was like, I could have sat there and.
It's a valid point because honestly, where that stems from is pre-Zoom.
Oh,
If you
okay.
think about it.
Okay, because I was like, I
Okay.
just thought, well, if I was an artist and not on the commission, I could be watching this, but I had to leave the room, which to make even more fair, I'm totally fine with that.
It just very clearly draws a boundary of you not participating in this process.
Yes, and I think that, I totally get that.
And it's kind of cool. You can go back and actually listen to it and really get the insight of, I think so many artists approach me like, what can I do different? And it's like, it's really not that simple, because it's an apples and oranges kind of situation. And it's not so much that you weren't selected because somebody didn't like your work or something. It's more that you weren't selected because frankly, we had, 7 other people that are just
It's more about the other applicants.
doing more or something.
I mean,
Let's say considering, I mean, we don't, occasionally I'll mention at the end of meetings, I'll thank everyone for volunteering their time, but this is a volunteer role. But for me, it's also partially like you're volunteering your time to be at the meeting and we're having a 20-minute conversation where you're not allowed to participate. So for me, it's only fair to give you an opportunity to have some of your time back. You can go send an email or sorry. You're
Productive.
not like captive in something that you're not allowed to participate in.
It's true.
Like,
I mean, I let all the artists who applied to things, and I probably more than anything, I'm always telling them, you can watch. You can be at the meetings and you can rewatch them, because before I was on the commission, I didn't always watch it every Wednesday, but I would watch it the next day when I was cutting in the studio. Just to know what was going on.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's a constant reminder. I'm like, you can watch all that. You can participate.
He doesn't watch, but he listens to all of the city commission and all of the advisory board meetings.
That's
Kind of
amazing.
like other podcasts, like I feel like
Are these, artists or do something like?
he's a numbers guy.
Well, there's also a second, all these meetings the audio is available too. And I know somebody that used to commute and they would listen to the meetings.
Get to know.
It's like NPR.
Like,
I think we have some good stuff there as far as we can bring to the February meeting. Finalizing the budget at the timeline. I do think just hanging stress of the application, timing of the application, the nomination process as casual, relaxed as possible to encourage folks. And I think having it every year will also increase nomination. So do that. Well, it is 1:48. Let's touch on a couple of other things we got. We have, unless anyone has anything else to talk about. So we've got a couple other things we do. Unmistakable Public Art Exhibition. This is one that we've always done every year. It's been for a long time, but this is 5. I think it's going through, I feel like this is one where we have, my intuition is that we have less innovation to do than the Phoenix Woods. Phoenix Woods were sort of reshaping a little bit, but I think that Unmistakable Public Art Exhibition, I feel like the process we have works pretty well. We get a good number of applicants every year. We've done a good job trying to push a little bit away from traditional culture and make it a little more broad, but I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts.
Have anybody seen the book cover one from last year? Because it's not in great shape.
Oh, is it looking rough?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Was
Some mold.
the one that was made of the different book covers was like a.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, okay, I'll check on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had concerns about that one.
because I don't want it to look too deteriorated out there. And is there an opportunity for us to maybe open it up to something other than maybe just outdoor sculptures and use public places like the library, indoor places?
I mean, you had the inflatable as part of the, there's an inflatable sculpture that was inside
Was it inside? It was outside.
was it only outside? I
She
thought
did it
I thought
outside.
it was inside.
You showed it somewhere else.
I did. I showed it in Saline and I showed it somewhere else in town.
So my cringe, which hopefully wasn't on camera, wasn't to say no, but I looked at Alicia immediately because we did another program a few years ago and we were going to use storefronts and it turned out to just be a royal challenge to get anybody to
I
agree.
think retail space would definitely be challenging, but someplace
No, if somebody proposed
building, whether it's
Sure.
health department or the hospital or, One of our community partners.
Everybody has always wanted to be on mass, which I understand, but I
Yeah.
concur, and that's why we take one out to Theater Lawrence. Tim's point is
I
well
mean-
taken. Let's spread the wealth and get
Make
art in the
friends
community.
Beautiful building that
Yeah.
could really use some local.
Some great art.
They do.
No, but a cultural element would be
That'd
cool.
super neat, especially it would give somebody the challenge to, push their comfortability with, suspended art, because there's a lot of airspace.
Space, yeah.
Really is.
Well, as far as the locations, choosing locations for pieces has always been like squarely on city staff, and usually, kind of like happens after all of the artists are selected and everything.
Artists usually tell us where they're inclined, and the application asks them to say, where do you see this happening?
But I feel like
But we have set locations, so
Yeah.
to speak,
so
so.
we could maybe we could look looking
Suggest
forward, we
the
could
places.
see if city staff could identify some potential
Mhm.
indoor locations and.
Yeah, my cautionary component to that is, so when we do, like, there's a piece right out here, we have a concrete pad.
Mm.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
And because we don't have a ton of time, the staff can, work on this kind of stuff. I mean, Miles always got, we have to get equipment and stuff to get his things, they're so heavy. So I just am cautious because, like, if I go to LMH, if they just put an artwork in the lobby or something, great. But artists tend to want to push the boundaries, like somebody just said, a hanging piece would be great. For a temporary piece, I don't think that's a great, so I don't want to make that.
just in this like.
It's very expensive. I say this,
Is it?
I'm going through
Yeah,
this
I-
process right now.
I'm non-aerial artist at all.
Hardware, how it.
Oh, wow, okay.
I say this as like, I'm doing this
See,
right
yeah,
now.
all
And
these things I would have never even.
it's very, I have like someone doing some CAD right.
But it's a good point of what other locations,
I love the idea.
yeah.
And I feel like I've probably mentioned this before, but even just ideas of like projection as installation art.
Mm-hmm.
And that would necessitate like good canvas.
Because the lead center at night is cool.
Mm-hmm.
The side where they project,
Yeah.
that could be a really neat
Mhm.
option for somebody, because it's right there along Iowa.
And that'd
Lots
be
of
good to
eyes.
get some videographer folks in. I had one, talking about communications, I did have one communication, and you were copied on it, I think, so. About the most recent selection process, when we obviously were selecting Unmistakable Public Art Exhibition for folks for World Cup with that World Cup spin on it. And in there, the language for the submissions said that the pieces should not be existing pieces, but should be
Right.
new pieces,
Pieces.
specifically meant for this exhibition. And we did end up selecting an artist whose sculptures were fantastic, but clearly were existing.
Yeah.
And I did receive a piece of communication saying that it seemed like from another artist who said that seemed like we were just violating essentially the rules that we had set out, which is true. But also, I think we made the correct decision. I just think that we should be hesitant about that no pre-existing work clause, because there are some art forms like metal sculpture where it's pretty unrealistic to be like,
That's.
we want to commission a
Brand
piece
new.
and have you create a fully
In 3 months.
large metal sculpture. Yeah, so I
That's
think
fair.
that is.
Yeah.
And then also the sort of the fact of like taking pictures you took years ago and, I'm going to reproduce them in a specific format for this. So that's you're creating a new
A
thing, but you
resubmission.
are using photos you took years ago. So that was also like this gray area. So I just think that I think that the artist who wrote to me was correct. Not that our decision was wrong, but that
They were right. I agree
I-
with what she said.
the guidelines that we set out for ourselves set us up for failure.
Right.
But when we did this the last night, I feel like the no pre-existing thing, that was just for this exhibition, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, as long as we don't do that as a matter of course, and gosh, just given the timeline too, where we're trying to hurry this through the World Cup, it just being real strict on that. Again, don't disagree with the criticism, but it would have been a hard ask for everybody just to, ground up design something completely new without any wiggle room.
So I just feel like it's a lesson to learn from that.
I guess at some point, and we don't have to decide anything today, I would really love for us to take a look at the rubric. We've talked about this, but I mean, always my scores are way lower than everybody. And it is because many of the things that we pick on there are really yes, no.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's a good
we
point.
don't talk about it. How do you give them points for it? Right.
So true.
And I realized what we started to do was try to align everything with the city. With,
So,
right.
yeah.
So either we have a failure to communicate that you must address this, or we should just remove it.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about sustainability, I think out of the applications, maybe 2 or 1 had a mention of sustainability. So in my book, that's a 0, right? There's no part if there's no
Yeah.
mention.
It does,
Yeah.
it's like a 0 over 10, like.
Right. And I hate doing things just because we should, right? We should have critical criteria that we're using to select these pieces and take out these, yes, no, whatever they are that either you win or you don't, right? I don't know what that answer is, but it bugs me because every time I look at my scores, I look like I'm the biggest curmudgeon in this group, right? Like everybody sucks and they don't.
Teacher, you don't give the A.
I just,
Having done this for years, I actually always appreciate that one, that's good to get in there and challenge the status quo a little.
well, I mean, our results end up kind of being the same, right? My standard deviation is bigger than everybody else
Right.
as I'm
Yeah.
lower than everybody. But I just feel like we shouldn't judge on things if either people aren't I mean, if only one person didn't respond to you, like, oh, they didn't read, right? But nobody responds to some of
Yeah.
I think I said this maybe last year at the retreat, or maybe this was years ago. Doing this for a long time, but especially the sustainability one, it seems to me like that should almost be like if the project they're proposing involves like egregious unsustainable practices, then there should be like they should be -10.
a minus, like if they've got 10 cars lined up idly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sculpture involves a bunch of big burning.
Yeah.
Right.
Tires.
Like, oh, you're gonna die because this violates,
Yeah.
but otherwise, any other form of anything you do, it's like, well, you want to do a cut paper sculpture, it's like, well, you have to order the paper and that uses, it gets transported and that's not sustainable. I mean, nothing's really.
Well, I mean, if you look at sculpture in its own right, at least metal sculpture, its carbon footprint is stupid.
Yes.
I mean, when you think about it, right?
It's the entire metal.
I mean, metal and you're welding and in reality, that's what it is. I mean, I don't think we should judge based on that, but
Yeah, it should be more reserved for something that feels like it crosses over a line of what is acceptable. But so yeah, I think we can revisit. I don't know when we want to revisit the rubric.
yeah, I think it opens the door also to hard feelings, right? Because at some point in time, somebody's going to call us on it. That you're judging on things and you're giving points to people that don't.
Yeah, well, what we do, so, and I know your brain's like my brain in the sense you're also doing the transient guest tax site event grants, which that has been challenged more than once. And fairness is, utmost, and knock on wood for the last couple of years, I won't say more than that. But because it covers so many bases. So, but I also hear you too, because I've been reviewing stuff just to review it. And it's like, okay, how do I keep all this in my brain while I'm going through and putting these numbers in?
Yeah.
Sustainability thing, I think is also a wish.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of cases, people could really take advantage of that. I mean, somebody mentioned me the other day, it's like, and it doesn't need to, but like the Christmas parade is pretty amazing as far as, if you don't count the trucks that need to be brought in for the horses and stuff, the event itself is very sustainable in that sense. So, part of it is getting the eye in there. And I think for, events, do you have recycling? Did you make that effort? So anyway, but I'm with you. And I think, it's gotten pretty cumbersome. I realize.
Us as the ones doing the scoring, I think it would be, it might just help us if instead of it being like sustainability 0 through 10 or whatever it is.
Something like that.
If it said that it was in a different category at the end, and it was like bonus points for stability plus 10. So if somebody is clearly working to address sustainability, they just get like, it's just a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a range, it's like.
Not in there, but it's an additive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it'd be up to
Yeah.
us to read it and be like, is this, you know, just mentioning sustainability in a sentence, it doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
Like they're actually, we should judge, like, do we feel like they are actually making the effort and earn that 10 bonus points? But yeah, having it be like a binary yes or no.
Yeah. It's kind of like the TGT, you know, where we give them points for the date, right? Remember that?
Yeah,
It's like if it falls in this window, they get these
Yeah.
points. And you know, kind of what we're doing is we're driving everybody to those windows, you know, and
Interesting.
yeah, well, it was.
Oh, and with that, then we want you.
Because then we want you, right?
Yeah.
And so then that becomes an all or nothing
Yeah.
kind of score too. And the thing is, it doesn't recognize that there's events that can't actually take place during.
Or looking
That
at
time.
the actual event itself and what it's doing. I mean, I get, of course, with tourism.
It has a little bit of a disproportionate impact, you know, but anyway, yeah, okay, point made.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think it's valid and been doing this a long time. You know, I think everybody comes at it like, there's gotta be a way to do this. And in my experience,
Not yet.
it isn't possible. I think it's
We're getting it good.
perspective.
I think we're doing overall a pretty good job.
It's an earnest, nothing else, you know,
The
and
idea of making it a bonus thing. That way it makes people
yeah, I like that.
intentional
Yeah.
about it instead of just winging it.
Because I've definitely looked at the sustainability and I'm like, how does this,
Yeah.
when I've done things?
I also feel like too, I have a tendency to just kind of make that score, try to confirm my other, like, oh, I like this. I can't just give them a 0. I'll give them a 3 because I'm giving somebody else a 3.
It's just giving them a summary.
Just because I like it, you know, just.
Just kind of a summary of your feeling overall.
Kind of,
Yeah.
a little bit.
If they
definitely
don't, I
included.
mean, for me, if they do actually go out of their way and talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you.
Oh, absolutely.
They get the points,
Yeah.
right? They get the points.
Yeah.
One of the two people who.
You know, it's just like, yeah, somebody said, and we'll recycle all the leftovers when I'm done. I'm like, well, you got 10 points because you wrote half a sentence that said that addressed the criteria, which is good. I like people who follow directions.
Also, sustainability could mean, you know, towards our economic development, supporting our local entrepreneurs, like this sustainability of, you know, actively keeping dollars here.
Yeah.
So that can be looked at in all kinds of.
Fair enough.
Good point.
areas, you know?
Overall, I do agree that like unstable public art exhibition in general is like, yeah, and it's not that far from what it needs to be. I mean, it doesn't have any glaring issues, especially since we are gonna go to a non-football themed.
Yeah.
Right, so that's a question, is the general consensus I'm hearing, we will just go back to the
Mhm.
way it was effectively. I mean, we can make modifications, but this year was very unique.
Honestly.
Can I comment on something, even
Yeah.
though I applied?
Yeah.
I agree with this communication that this artist wrote. I mean, I think I wasn't for the decisions, but I will say in the application, for all applications I applied for, knowing I'm gonna be, you all think you selected me or selected my work for it and these great works and they look great, but I think it said in there to be made. And I think I get it, like if, like, I mean, it's maybe selections have already been made in that way, but I totally agree. Like, that it was a pre-existing. I wasn't there for that conversation, but it is, everyone's gonna be making this year something fresh and new. And the sculpture is great. I went back and reviewed everything after. But I do agree. I think it's, and I know it's not always that way, but it was something that was talked
Yeah.
about. And as taking away from the Arts Commission, as an artist that's gonna be making, it's gonna take some time. And all these artists take some time in it for this fresh new idea. And so I do agree because it was an application. And I think about things I apply for and they follow the application in that way. And so I guess I get it. Like, I'm not gonna, I know it's been done, but like,
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to air it out.
Yeah, so I had to air it out.
Yeah.
Well, you know, so it was raised, I didn't even realize
That was part of it.
It was not even in my brain.
I think it was,
And so I went back and looked at it, I'm like, oh, they're right.
yeah,
Yeah, something that we put in there and then, but then when it came time to actually do yeah, it was, the mistake was putting it in there and not thinking ahead to the fact, like, this is gonna hamstring us and make us unable to actually. Like make a lot of stuff viable. So, But yeah, I definitely do feel like the person who expressed the concern was correct, and I do feel like we owe them a bit of an apology for making up rules that we couldn't
Yeah,
fully follow.
agreed.
Well, and I pointed out to some people that the community arts grants are also open.
Yeah.
And that if they wanted to, they could certainly readapt and seek a grant. So not to appease that.
No, no.
So that we talk about it and yeah, yeah.
So we got a couple more things to
Can we
discuss.
take a little break?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'll say, I need to take a break.
Take a porta break.
A porter break, there you go. Porta potty break.
Just keep with the.
Are we doing some?
Did you ever know Peter Thompson? The artist.
The name's
Professor?
familiar.
All right.
Tear it up.
So I think so up next. We're going to mention this community arts experience is a perfect segue for a break. Unless anybody has anything else I want to say about Ubai. Community arts experience is our next thing on our agenda.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Upai, do you have an estimate on when payments go through for this, knowing the artists have to make them this year?
Do I have an estimate?
Not estimate, but like, is it gonna be like May?
Once again, it requires somebody to get on board and so I'm worried, I realize I need to get on that.
I just think of like in past.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But a lot of these pieces have been already made where these people, like I think of like Javi is doing.
Right.
Just he's like, maybe he has to purchase some of this beforehand, but I didn't other than. When I say estimate, like, is it gonna be like a March, April?
No, my intention is get this done as soon as possible. The biggest challenge is, now that the city has a vendor access, which you've done,
Mhm.
once you're in there, it's actually fairly simple. It just has to go through the process and get it done on claims. But those artists that are not in there, then it's a little more
It's
cumbersome.
a little.
But I need to get the letter out that gets that ball rolling. And my hope would be is to get everybody paid by no later than the end of January. But it may go a little longer depending on how quickly people can get their stuff in the system.
Okay, just a good question.
Yeah, no, always a good question.
Others
And yeah, a lot of it is just I was out of town during the holidays and stuff, so I got to get back up and running on that one.
So community arts grants, unless anybody has anything else Ubai related. Community arts grants is another program we've been doing for a while, and I feel like we're doing pretty good. So I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts or issues. I mean, I think that obviously it's been a couple years since we increased the amount that we're giving out, and that is incredible. I think if Marlo is here,
Mhm.
I feel like if there's one thing I can imagine her saying, it would be that like great that we increased the amount. That is exclamation point. The biggest thing we can ever do to make things better is just commit more money to it, because we get 1 million applications every year and we can fulfill maybe a third of them, and which is great, but the demand is high. So it's just upload again.
Well, and I will take some wisdom from Tim on the on the rubric and stuff.
Yeah. Every time it applies to anything we score, I think.
Yeah.
We'll have to stick with it for this round because that's what was. In the future, we can work on adjusting those.
Well, I think the simpler the rubric, the better for us, because it feels like our numbers are increasing.
Yeah.
On the actual applicants.
More categories you have to put numbers into.
Yes, and it becomes a bit of a, which is great, right? But it would be nice if it were a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah. Hearing none. And the only other thing, so we have a couple other things on here. We have Final Fridays. Final Fridays is not a program that we as a body oversee.
I think what's been discussed historically is, Final Fridays, for those especially who are familiar with it, was established to benefit local artists, to help showcase them. But it's also a very hands-off program. Nobody actually administers the program per se. It's up to each individual venue to decide how they want to participate. And then it really lands on Explore Lawrence for the marketing piece, which I think is going well. So I think that's where some artists get frustrated. And I know I've been approached by a lot of business entities that want to participate and they don't understand how it works. And they're not looking at it through the artist lens as much as they're trying to market their business kind of.
People in their store, right?
I could definitely come into play from a core angle if you want to send me businesses that want to do that, because I have artists that are looking for brick and mortars.
So like trying to connect these.
So let me share this, and I don't know, I'm pointing at you because I know you're affiliated with the Art Center, but in years, the Art Center actually managed a running list of artists interested in art in opportunities. That's a lot of work. So I think it's no longer, I don't know if you even.
I've seen that.
I don't think they do it,
But
I've tried to get that from them for art gallery.
Yeah.
So that I can put together, and it just seems like it's fallen into a black hole.
I think that, and that's usually what happens with anything like that. It takes real energy and effort to do that. So I pass that on, is that having a running list, and part of the trick is to make it the artist's responsibility.
Oh, I do.
Some sort of-
Definitely do, but I vet my businesses as well, because both the businesses and the artists need to be
Yeah.
showing up and accountable for each other. It's on them. Happy to make that connection though, but also I'm not gonna, submit an artist to a business that I know is kind of, lackluster, shows up late, might not show up at all. I want to make sure the fit is good.
Good.
That's what my challenge was people like, hey, we want to do this to promote our business, tell me what I need to do. And I was always very careful, like, let's not be too ambitious here. Maybe just hire a blues guitarist,
Right.
that's all you need to do.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's a good point. And so you're kind of helping to curate,
Very much so.
which this is just a random list of artists that are interested in opportunities. And that can get tricky with a business that has no idea what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, no, I definitely have open communication with both the business and the artist. And I also want to make sure that the artist is comfortable going into said business and the foot traffic that they have in there, and that everything's cohesive and inclusive and transparent.
Which is a lot of work for you.
That's, but it needs to get done.
Which is why
I'll do it.
Fridays is sort of left in an open-ended opportunities. But
I think it's important for small businesses to understand, though, that it's not actually about promoting them. They receive promotion by virtue of the fact they open their doors to artists being there, and it's kind of a pay it forward sort of a deal. More people in your store means more business, but it isn't about promoting your store.
And that's the conversations I have. It's
Yeah.
about a reciprocal relationship
Right.
and responsibility to community. So if those businesses are willing to have that conversation and have a bunch of artists that are willing to meet them in a good way,
Mhm.
because it is very much about
Yeah.
That for sure.
So,
But one thing that I do feel is lacking about Final Fridays, and I don't know how to fix it, is, and maybe I'm not tuned into it, it's just kind of this comprehensive guide to where things are on Fridays, right? Because
Cultural Arts does, I think that, they're the only ones I feel like we're in that space currently, maybe I'm wrong, but I think they're the only ones who are putting that together. But I do agree, and obviously, just having the banner out front
Do
of
you
your.
still keep those out? The banners, or you can buy them?
because I have,
Buy the flag?
it's the kind of thing for me personally, I'm like the classic
Day.
Final Fridays person. I want to clandestinely put myself a cocktail in a cup, and I want to go walk around and look at art. But other than, oh, well, there's going to be something at Cider Gallery. Well, I don't always want to walk over to Cider Gallery. I want to walk around downtown, right? And it just feels like there's kind of a dearth of information about like nobody's really owning that in a comprehensive way.
That's fair. I agree.
well, so just so everybody's aware, I'm just sharing information,
Yeah.
not trying
You're
to.
good.
I don't know if anything's listed right now, but so, historically it was more curated between the art center, me, and who was the other participant? There was another, DLI. Then slowly it ended up being all on the city. I used to curate it. I walked through with everybody. I helped marketing. And then Michael Davidson, when he took over Explore Lawrence, asked me about it. And I said, if you guys can do the marketing, that would be great, So that's the brief history of this. It's been going on since 2010, I believe.
Oh, wow. And a wealth of artists came together. Oh, no, this is history, sorry.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I was like, what does it say? The Arts Commission?
So the good news is when it is, when they are marketing, which I don't know why I'm not seeing, I guess they just don't have anything up yet.
Oh, or sometimes you have to go
Click
to the
over,
actual
yeah.
day.
Click your date.
Click.
Not
Yeah,
always the
Gotta find a
easiest,
Friday.
not always easiest to
but
match.
Final Fridays.
Is that when it is?
No, I know. I got in big trouble one year
It's
because
all year
I,
round.
Oh, it is?
Year round.
Year
Thought it
round. I
was,
didn't know that.
It's all year.
yeah.
It's
I
all
did not
year
know
because I
that.
usually tell my students
Oh.
to do a show after Thanksgiving. But it's also a very busy time,
Mhm.
like in the past, and so.
This is what I typically come up with. It's exactly what you're coming up with. Or it'll have the usual suspects, cider gallery.
You might have to look at events. Sometimes, like, I've never really worked with this page, but I have when I'm doing something or my students are, I make them for Final Fridays or not, they have to put an event and sometimes it's like easier.
I've definitely been on this page before and had a little map for it.
You've had a map.
Oh, yeah, no, usually there's a ton of stuff here, so I'm a little
It's like,
thrown.
it's near me here. So recommend that. What does that give us? We have to allow it to,
And it may be that they're just behind right now, so I don't wanna. Anyway, so usually everything is here and, you know, Tim, to your point, you can actually get a map and stuff and see what's going on, but.
Does so let me ask further questions. So how does that all get reported up, right? So if you work with a small business and you match a small business and an artist together, how does Explore Lawrence know that that's even happening? I just feel like there's big holes in it. Somebody's got to submit it to them because they're passively tracking it. And I mean, I don't know the answer to this. I just know that when you go to Kansas City, I can't remember where you search it in Kansas City, but you can find a pretty comprehensive listing of what's going on.
and for like the first Fridays.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. But
I don't know if that's-
I don't know who coordinates,
Maybe Charlotte Street does. I don't know.
but figuring out who coordinates that and then what process they use. and
Yeah.
Could be a good step towards like trying to streamline stuff. a little
I
bit.
wonder if it's because when I've done art events in Kansas City, I submit as well to all these all these places, and then I've been picked up from those as something that is then advertised more. So I wonder if it's people submitting like that press kind of release stuff. But I do think, I bet there is, I haven't looked in a while, more confident
Yeah.
that someone is.
Someone is monitoring it,
Yeah.
right? And I
think Arts KC has a list.
I would say Amy Brockman does a pretty good job of before big weekends. We'll post on the socials, you know, like what's going on this weekend. And then we get a really great thread of all kinds of stuff, not just downtown, like out in West Lawrence or, you know, even
The Lawrence Times
outskirts.
also, I don't know what their method is, but they will also.
Yeah, theirs is
at times.
Yeah.
theirs is pretty good too.
What I'm hearing is it's time to bring parties together and talk.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we can get Explore Lawrence to come. I think they've hired a new person in the marketing role. So I think a good opportunity just to say, hey, let's get caught up on how is this working right now and what are the gaps
Yeah.
and.
I just love it to be comprehensive.
When was the last time that Kim upped into one of our meetings?
I was gonna say, what if we went to one of the
Of that
meetings
quote?
at Spencer?
Is that
Meetings is
for
You know,
for the
the art,
Lawrence?
no, the art meetings are like
Okay.
at noon, the second
Oh,
Tuesday,
round table.
Yeah.
round table.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, let me think about, I think that's more about sharing information.
But I'm saying there's a bunch of entities there. What if we all just like met there and was like, hey, we should talk about how to get a comprehensive. I mean, if it's about information sharing, then we should be like, how can we get comprehensive
yeah,
information
there's
shared?
more there, is
Yeah, everybody's
everybody's
there.
sitting at the table, you're just saying, well, rather than recreate the wheel, why don't we just try
Yeah.
to get on the agenda there and talk it through?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just thinking that having Explore Lawrence visit with us. But let me run it by Ruth and Kim and just see.
We could do both. We could start, by just inviting Kim and so like one of our meetings, and then we can follow up with a larger.
That's what I was thinking is maybe do that first just to get everybody on the same page of what exists now, what are the opportunities? And then that's a great idea and that is a great resource. So, okay.
I wish I was schooling on the socials and that sort of thing, I'm not, and so I don't have a place to go.
I don't really, like.
I try to avoid socials.
Yeah.
Lately. I'm not working, I'm not on it.
Become somewhat fraught.
Ugh, it takes long.
Yeah, there definitely is room for improvement, and it's something that's one of those things, I guess it started in 2010, is that what the website said?
Yeah, and there was, there was a kind of national movement in that direction and the local group here did a ton of research, got with Americans for the Arts. I think Eric Kirkendall was a big part of all that and
It was it happened right after Red Balloon to do. You all remember that?
Yeah.
There's a group of people that they would have these red balloons, and that was when I first moved here in 2006. And they would put them in private houses and galleries.
okay.
I remember that.
Walk, and then if it had a red balloon, or you would get a red balloon, you'd walk around with it. And it was a thing for a few years, and then I know when Final Fridays were starting, there's a big blog. And I only know there's probably a lot of people that I remember at one point, Molly Murphy would like, people would send her emails and she would literally, it was like,
For years.
she was gone for 1 week or 1 month at an artist residency. And she was like, will you do this? And people would just like send a final, before it was through the city. And you would just copy and paste and put it on like one page that you'd have to scroll.
Molly
It wasn't
showed
a
me.
picture.
Molly was my mentor.
She did it for years.
Yeah.
And so I think when I think of it starting, there was probably a lot more players. I remember her really helping with some organizing behind blog stuff. But yeah, my only history.
That's the one thing I will say is that to do anything more than we're doing right now really requires probably a dedicated staff. Get after capacity. And beyond my capacity currently, so we have to think about that too. That's where Molly was great. She was working for the Art Center at the time.
Yeah, she's.
No, it's good though, and I don't disagree. And I think, from 2010 to 2026, a lot has changed. What are the needs of the community? And not to say Final Fridays will ever go away because nobody controls it.
Right.
Beyond the marketing, but where's room for improvement? But also, is this the necessary thing these days? Well, how has the climate changed? So
I just kind of feel like we have all these ecosystems going that are kind of doing okay within their own realm, like you got Carswell and the Musicians Alliance and that's great, right? And they're very communicative.
right.
And you have other groups like that, but they're not, we're not putting them together.
I am trying to. I just met with a farmer's market last week. Nick, like I'm definitely being intentional with that because there's so many missed opportunities because there's not communication
It's
happening.
nonstop.
It's a problem.
Right.
It's a problem.
I
So
agree.
yeah, I definitely want to help try to fill that gap and empower the people to help us help fix that too.
Agreed.
But yeah, I think 16 years after the creation of Final Fridays, it's like a good opportunity for like a tune-up and a review and try and see where things are at.
Well, and sadly, we haven't, with COVID and, federal funding wackiness right now. Because Americans for the Arts, I regret that we weren't able to do the most recent art and economic prosperity study. And we definitely do that next time, but that's a 5-year process. So unfortunately, we haven't had those things. And of course, even the Kansas Art
Any?
No, I keep wanting to say the Kansas Creative Arts Industries Council because I learned how to do it, but it's no longer that. It's the Kansas Art Commission, right? Anyway, and no discredit to anybody, but their funding was reduced and that type of thing, so they haven't been able to do as much. So anyway, I think it's all good stuff. It's just that it's been lacking since COVID. Time to get back to it a little bit.
Speaking of funding, was 2:30. I feel like we don't have one other thing on our agenda for, I think getting ready to explore warrant, the time of our meetings on Fridays, and then maybe see where it goes from there. Potentially.
Someone from what block?
Explore warrant.
Okay.
Yeah, Kim joined us to talk about stuff that I was probably.
Didn't she join us to talk a little bit about the World Cup stuff?
Maybe that was.
I mean, she's talked to us in the last year, but it was for a specific purpose.
Well, and Ruth, the woman sits on the Parks Board. So Monday night or last Parks Board meeting, she actually gave an amazing presentation about the World Cup because she's been the one sort of spearheading the whole effort. So yeah, I'm always hearing from them, but I get, they haven't come to you all directly. So it'd be good to do that.
The next thing on our list, unless anybody has any other Final Fridays related stuff, is looking at the budget. We already talked about the budget a little bit earlier, specifically with the Phoenix Awards and how that shakes out. Curious if anybody has any thoughts on any of the other parts of the budget. Obviously, we've got 90,500 dedicated to the buy. Then we have 70 for the community arts grants.
I do appreciate the change in the art plaques for the goodbye, because I think in previous years it's been like 1,000. There was,
Oh yeah, no, I'm always tweaking things.
and I was always like, where's that? I mean, I know the plaques take some money to
Yeah.
put up.
Right, no, it's been easier though, you're right.
I personally think this all seems great. I mean, $250 for the Unmistakable Public Art Exhibition, like little gathering
Mhm.
around is a healthy little buffer there in case you want to buy water bottles and stuff. Um, I think the mini grant continue to be.
I think that's, I would love to see, I mean, I don't want to get into the community art grant. I don't know. I just love the mini grants and the opportunity.
That's a
And
great idea.
I'm constantly,
Yeah.
all year round talking about them. I've told
Yeah.
like 20 people that it's,
Well, Nick Carswell has me come to his
Which-
meeting.
last year there was a
Sure.
ton of musicians. I love that
I
it
love
wasn't
that.
just
I know.
visual. And so I do hope in the future sometime that there's more, but I do like this. It's like, if people are a little, they don't have this huge event, but they're an artist and in whatever way that it's more accessible. I feel like it builds them up. It builds them up
To go,
to the next.
Yes.
And so I'm,
It is. I agree, and I also have lots of conversations about it. A friend of mine posted on Facebook a while back, was like, who wants to give me $2,000 to upgrade my whatever studio? And I was like, well, I mean, thousands more than the mini grants, but I will. This is the perfect
Yep.
opportunity for someone who's in that situation, and they need relatively small amount of money to completely revolutionize what they're capable of doing.
but still that, $500 is a big thing. It's a lot of money. Yeah.
It's a whole entire.
Anytime I've ever talked to an artist and asked them, what do you need? And, every artist kind of reaches a point, it's like, well, and they don't think about it because most of them are good at doing less with less. But if you give them sort of the magic wand of what if, there's always like, oh, if I could only get this.
Yep.
And it's like, that's what we want you to get.
Yeah.
And $500 may not cover the entire cost, but may give you the opportunity to actually buy that thing.
Mhm.
And that could be a game changer for an artist. So it could be a, musical instrument. It can be a tool with tech. I mean, computers, all that stuff. It can really change their
Yeah.
ability. Yeah. So I'm glad it works. I'm sorry. I'll say publicly that, working with city finances is not the easiest thing in the world, but that's also a good experience, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's many funders for who you'll have to go back and forth and wait and all that stuff. And so, I mean, if this is the first one of those experiences somebody has, that is a valuable experience, because it won't be the last time.
We don't have to get in it too much, but I know paying them sometimes is a lot of work, and Marlowe, maybe the art center has helped with that. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Was that a few years ago?
2 years ago, because I know it can be challenging, and before we had the vendor system
Okay,
in
so
place.
the vendor system.
I asked the art center to help us out. We gave them the money, but then Marlowe came back because of course they have their own financial system.
Yeah,
When you're dealing with any large agency with finances and stuff, it becomes challenging.
okay, so the
And so-
vendors.
But then we did come back to the city last year, and I don't know, I mean, I'm really glad to hear in the trenches, you're hearing positive things, it sounds to me.
Yeah.
'Cause I know that in some cases, the money took longer than they had hoped. But in large part, that was because they weren't getting their stuff set up appropriately in the system.
And I think I learned it when you are working with the city, any city, sometimes you're like, okay, I got it. When I first started playing, you're like, I'm getting this in a week or two, but that's not the way it works. And
Right.
so I've definitely, I was that way for a long time. I just kind of assumed that was it. And so when I've talked to people who've gotten it or applying, I'm like, well, you recognize it's going through many processes in
Yeah.
the city. It's not just.
I think that's really well said is, don't change your expectations. It's not like the city can just write a check. It has to go through a lot of layers of approval, even $500.
So now there's not that extra need of someone, the vendor system has taken over. I was just saying, if there was ever you needed help in that, I would volunteer.
The idea of having
Of like helping,
secondary.
yeah, if someone I know I totally space that the vendor system that they have set up kind of helps that, where I knew that Marla was putting in a lot of effort and time. I was like, if you
Yeah, they
need
did that
another
once that
person.
first year because I knew it would be hard for us, but it turned out to be as hard for them. So,
I was just saying, if you needed that, that's something.
well, thanks.
But it seems like the vendor system takes that.
Yeah, no, I honestly need to, it would be good to have like maybe a short video showing how step by step.
Hmm.
Here's how you do this. I think they have a pretty good PDF online
I've been fun.
where you can learn that. So yeah, as long, I mean, I think that's the other thing is, you know, it's like anything, you gotta make some time,
Yeah.
sit down and do it.
Well, for me, looking at the budget, it seems like the overall summary is that there's multiple things on here where we wish we could dedicate more, like mini grants. It'd be great if we could do more mini grants, and then, you know, the payment for the artists for the Phoenix Awards, obviously that has increased, but it's like even more would be better. And but we're kind of at a point where, I mean, there's nothing on here other than the food and beverage for the Dubai opening at $250. There's nothing on here that I feel like it would make sense to move funds out of for something else.
No,
So I think we're.
Yeah, that's where they need to be. I wish they were inflated, but.
You heard, do people actually use that AutoCast online art app thing?
That's a great question, but.
Some people, okay, I mean, what I hear is that when we're promoting the actual program and doing the walk and stuff, people are all over it.
Okay.
But then like anything, it.
Well, sure. I mean, as long as people use it at all, it just seems like a big chunk of money. It's like 8 people are looking at it or whatever.
We could put up those little plaques with a QR code. That way, if there's a visitor randomly like, oh, what's this? And then that pops up.
They do have QR code, I think.
Yeah, it's not the one I was trying.
So all the labels on the artwork, unfortunately, they often get stolen.
Okay.
Many years I've had to replace numerous, but every one of them has a QR code.
Wouldn't want one of those.
To the AutoCast.
For free. Come on.
What's cool about AutoCast too is that if you have the app, it applies to other cities as well. So if you happen to be traveling, it's like, oh, I've got this app, I can actually do a little, you know, I've got time during lunch to do a little public art tour in Phoenix, Arizona, you can do that.
No, you don't leave your house as much.
I'll say is I
Phoenix, Arizona, but.
I think I mentioned this, and I don't want to keep this too long, but I do think, I don't know how often they change it, that right in front of Third Planet, that 9th and Mass, that like, sometimes as a map.
Yeah.
I don't know how often they update that, but I always thought, and I might have brought it up before, it would be really cool, especially with the sculpture exhibit, if on one side we had a map where it had where the sculpture, that were maybe downtown, if that's
Yeah.
just doing downtown or like.
Steelized.
And then put QR codes inside there. So-
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know who does that or how often.
Never mentioned it, but I think it's a good idea.
great idea. And you could even
Yeah.
have a QR code down at the bottom.
That's
for
like
the
this-
Off-site display.
Yeah, or like maybe it's, I mean, yeah, I guess that map is just showing downtown.
Right, but
where it
that's
is.
fine. Let it show downtown.
But
And at
then.
the bottom say, you know, there's other locations. Click on this one and it brings up a map to, you know, the stuff that's
I
elsewhere.
mean, I watch so many people look at that and I would forget about it living 2 blocks away. I'm like, oh, there's that thing.
Yeah.
And so like,
Walking to-
when I walk into a new town, I'm usually looking at stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
wonder, I don't know who does that.
I think it's DLI.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Send.
Downtown Lawrence Incorporated, they're the ones who, it's the association for all of historic downtown Lawrence,
Where are
the.
they at?
Well,
Where are they?
it's a membership based thing.
Yeah, it's a membership organization that the downtown businesses can pay to be a member of, and then they
Oh,
have.
is it kind of like a chamber-esque thing?
Yeah.
That specific.
It's a nonprofit that they have a board, and then they do a variety of stuff, advocacy and a lot of things just
Something I've never heard
meant
of.
to
Interesting.
They don't have like a brick and mortar.
They had a rented office.
Do they?
Yes.
Yeah, they got an office.
Upstairs.
Yeah, it's above
Okay, shows how much.
So this is their webpage. And also they,
Correct.
Andrew was the director for what, 4 years, I think, 3 or 4 years, but he recently went to Topeka.
I think it's
So
only
they-
for 2 years.
Yeah, they had a long
Is the
time
new
director.
director, Christopher, who used to work at Spring Hill, is he the director of?
I don't know if they've picked one
I
yet.
don't know, maybe he was downtown, no?
He's at Explore Lawrence.
Explore Lord, okay,
Yeah.
So
okay.
Explore Lawrence is the Convention and Visitors Bureau for the city. So they receive city funding to market outside of Lawrence
Gotcha.
for events and stuff, and they use transient guest tax money for that.
Like if you
DLI also-
to Manhattan or something, you'll see a bunch of Lawrence
Right.
marketing, and that's them market.
Okay,
There's the marketing outside of.
okay.
then downtown Lawrence is just, downtown is recognized as one of the premier sort of gems of Kansas as far as the downtown.
Yeah.
So as Tim said, they're a membership-based nonprofit, so not every business on Mass is a member,
Okay.
but they have memberships, and they look to downtown Lawrence as sort of their agent, if you will, of, whatever is going on with the city, that person is tuned into what's going on, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I don't know where they are on whether they're doing a search or what the situation is.
They're kind of like an Elna's for businesses down
Yeah,
there.
they're the downtown
Okay.
neighborhood association. And
Okay.
Businesses are
Oh, that's them. They do that. Okay.
They do now the restaurant week is done by the Lawrence Restaurant Association, but they work closely with DLI.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they used to do the sidewalk sale and.
Yeah.
which has become the midnight.
Midnight at Mass.
Yeah.
Thanks for connecting those dots, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, and they have a schedule as well because they're keeping folks on Mass tuned into what kind of events are coming. So the Mardi Gras parade is coming up in February, which is a big deal. So,
Good to know.
and then they guide you to the Explore Lawrence calendar, the Lawrence Arts Center calendar. So they're kind of a hub of information as well. And then, of course, Explore Lawrence is doing different promotional things.
Speaking of other things happening in the community, we do have one last thing on our agenda, which is miscellaneous. So if there's anybody who have any random thoughts they want to put out there, we also usually use this to plug events and talk about stuff we've gone to. Obviously, we talked at length about the fantastic art show you got going on over at the West Side Gallery.
Mhm.
Or is gallery, I can't remember.
It's Gallery 4621.
4621. Really a spectacular, four great artists,
Mhm. It is
many of which were connected to the Phoenix Awards.
Yeah.
Recipients or nominators. Does anybody else have any cool stuff coming up or things they've seen recently?
I am hosting a Black and Brown Market February 21st out at the Pavilion. Right now we have 40 in BIPOC business owners signed up. So all kinds of services, anything you can think of. It's just a really great way to center minority communities, and it's really a wonderful opportunity for allies to come in the space and learn, ask questions, support. I mean, all of those people are very important and together pretty powerful. So
February, what was it?
February 21st.
Pavilion?
Sorry, building 21. Wow.
At
At the fairground.
okay.
Sorry, that's inside. It'll be warm. Lots of food, music. It'll be a really good time.
Pressure. Beginning of the year, nothing happens, interesting happens in January.
I will do the last thing when we're ready. I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So you all have this. This is just a friendly reminder of what's coming. We've got the community arts grant application is going to be due February 2nd, I believe. And so you guys will be, I'll have to send you the scoring and stuff for that. So anticipate that, and that'll be for the meeting on February 11th.
Okay.
Okay. And then also on that meeting, we're going to have the three muralist finalists are working on their updated proposals, and they're actually going to attend the meeting and give you guys so you guys get to see that. And then, at that point, you've already done the scoring on that. So at that point, it really will be the hard, decision making of which one.
Are we going to be using the same rubric sheet?
Actually, I'm open to options, but at that point, you're hearing from three people, and then it's really just going to be a vote
Oh, okay.
during the meeting. So it'll be a public meeting. Yeah.
No pressure. Can we all wear masks?
Happily no gladiator, right?
Yeah.
We could do a silent, a written vote if you
I
want.
like that.
Yeah.
Although, let me think about that. It's probably better to be transparent.
You're right. I agree.
And there is scores, so you can reference that too. When we got here, these.
Yeah, I think having the
Right,
scores,
so I included that. So,
having that during the meeting was ground for conversation in our the previous.
Know how vocal certain entities in this town can be about their opinions, so I try to protect you all.
Thank you.
Well, that seems great. It's gonna be our February, I'm busy meeting in February. Yep.
Yep.
And just as a reminder, I did put on here the selected artists for the Unmistakable Public Art exhibition, which I think is very exciting.
Yeah, thank you for putting this together.
Yeah.
Appreciate this.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, speaking about our February meeting, we will not have our January meeting. I guess it would have been this week, this Wednesday. So because of this retreat, we won't have our next meeting will be February 11th. Same, the normal time, normal place, over down the street, City Hall at, what is it, 7:30? Is that what you
30
did?
PM.
So yeah, with, and I guess it also, we have on here, June 11th to June 19th is the World Cup. I think we're pretty close to hearing some information about.
The end of the month, I keep hearing.
That's what I've been led to believe is that we should know, hopefully a team by the end of the month. We'll see what happens.
Who'll be essentially basing out of Lawrence. Should be pretty interesting. So I'm sure whoever's on the team will take lots of selfies in front of our UPI. You know,
Yep.
sculptures and things, so. Well, do we do a roll call? This is
Actually,
just
for this meeting, as long as it screams and says, I don't want to stop the meeting. We're adjourned.
all right. I heard. Oh,
All right.
Thank you.
For being here and volunteering.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
I have another question.